AMLI got started in the spring or summer of 1980 when I met and had long chats with John Allan. Of course, we had talked about this in 78 and 79. I knew John. I'd been at Mayor Brown, I actually worked for him. And I knew John was disgruntled or unhappy, or not, those are too strong, but he was bored is the right word, and wanted to see if there was some other opportunity for him to go beyond law and engage in some business enterprise. Primarily, his first love was real estate. And so we visited, and long and short of it was, we ended up proposing the AMLI concept to Ron Jensen and Tom Patrick at Life Investors, and lo and behold, they had a serious need for real estate assistance, and they were floundering on the real estate side of things. So it worked out, and bingo, we started AMLI in December of 1980.
I luckily got an offer from AMLI in 1981. I worked for John for a couple years, off and on, and knew what a high quality guy he was, and Greg's reputation was also sterling. So I left in September of 1981 and was the fourth person at AMLI at that time.
When I joined AMLI in 1985, I'd been on the board, but I hadn't really been deeply involved. And Greg and I met for breakfast, and he made me an offer, and I took it. But he said before it would be official, I would have to meet with John, and I would have to meet with Phil. And I said, absolutely, and that sounded like a great idea. And John had me over to his home for a lovely dinner, and we sit and talked. And John was very candid. He said, why in the heck are you coming to AMLI? If I were you, I'd never do it. And we talked, and of course, I told him that I was really very interested in the process. And Greg and I had known each other since 1971, and so it wasn't in my mind like I was going somewhere where I didn't already know a lot.
We were a corporation, and we were organized as a corporation, but we were all four lawyers, and we all four viewed the world as a partnership from day one. So while we were legally a corporation, we were structurally a partnership. And in my view, you guys chime in, we all four had different skills, and the blend of the skills, blessedly, remarkably, led to a successful long-term.
I would say in the beginning, the great things about the early days of AMLI is that there were three of us who had a little more reservation about some of the deals we might do or not do. And God bless John, he had the no stamp. And when John pulled out the no stamp, it was able to rein in what might have been deals that in retrospect we wished we wouldn't have done. And as it turned out, there haven't been very many deals that we did that we wished we hadn't done.
What were the things that really allowed us to survive and grow? And it's really Alva's the first one. That was, we needed to do Soap Creek, and thank God we got Soap Creek going. But that didn't, I mean, that got the early, it was a critical deal because it was our first deal, and we hit the ball out of the park on it. The timing was perfect. Anything that anybody started in 81, right after Reagan was, I mean, the economy took off. But Alval.
The history of AMLI Land Venture is, as Greg alluded to, was there's a big piece of land in Atlanta that we wanted to buy, and we had no skills towards raising the money to buy that piece of land. And we went around to Lincoln and Vantage and a bunch of other big players to see what they'd joint venture, and they all said no. It became a syndicate. It became our first land syndicate.
There were $250,000 units. Allan whipped into action, and he got built.
I was still a chief.
You were chief, but you got
I
very
had people that invested.
The Vandermollens, we had Demas, we had lots of people. If you were a client of Allan, you were in these deals. Blessedly, they worked out. And we got it done.
It was a big deal that went for 6 years and then became the crown jewel in our discussions when we tried to raise institutional money several years later. In January of 1989, we closed our first institutional fund with money from Kodak, Unisys, Gannett, and the Illinois State Board of Investments. It was a $75 million raise. that got us going for another 4 or 5 years as we worked through that. But 87 was a critical event for us, and 88 on the raise was equally important.
Alan is right. It carried us. It carried the entire company from 88 through 90, till we went public. In 93, the REITs, various companies that we knew and were competitors were started to go public. I think
Kimco was December of 92, created the UPREIT structure that facilitated a whole bunch of companies going public.
we were one of the least likely companies to make it, with probably the most anemic record and smallest size of anybody in our weight class. New York stock, REIT, public. And we thought we could get it going. So we really rolled up our sleeves in about August of 93. We pushed the button, all out effort. We probably had it in February of 94 when we went public, at least $2.5, $3 million bucks
That's my recollection.
of
$3 million on the
printing,
beach.
legal,
On
accounting.
the beach. And the Thursday we were supposed to price, Greenspan raised the Fed.
No, Monday. It was Monday.
We were going to price on a Thursday, Greg.
Yeah, but Monday is the market went down. I mean, huge. It was huge. It was like a
Okay.
5,
I
6.
thought it was Thursday, it may be Monday, but bottom line, we couldn't price that Thursday because the market had gone down because of the Fed funds rate. And I distinctly remember going home that weekend saying, if the market doesn't open at least decent on Monday, the $3 million that we had spent today was going to be gone, and we were never going to get public at all. It was really touch and go.
We priced it at 4 o'clock Monday and we rang the bell Tuesday in the middle of a gigantic snowstorm. It was unbelievable on Tuesday, Feb 7th.
So we're 8,632 units when we went public in 1994, February. And then when we went private, exactly 12 years later, February 7th of 2006, we were north of 30,000 units. So that had been a pretty incredible period where there were good times, there were bad times, there were ups, there were downs, but we were growing pretty significantly during that 12-year period.
And it made us a far better company, in my opinion, far more professional, far more effective. And as Alan said, we grew from 80-some hundred units to 31,000 units in 12 years. That's a lot of growth. And we were a very different company when we went private in 2007.
And the going private decision with Morgan Stanley's Prime Fund, in my opinion, has been the single best decision of all of the ones put together in terms of allowing AMLI to grow to where it is today.
Doing that deal with Morgan Stanley has changed us dramatically. The no debt, the high quality, selling out of Indianapolis, Kansas City, moving into LA and Seattle. These were major pluses. And we are now, it's humbling to me, I don't know what you guys think. When you think of when we started, we were nothing, we were a bunch of ham and eggers. This is a fairly impressive company.
I mean, to give Prime and Morgan Stanley even more credit, during the recession, the Great Recession in 09 and 10, we did not have to cut back the platform very much, and they absorbed losses or greater deficits, and we were able to be very productive coming out of the recession.
And we're able to make much better decisions each and every day on a real estate front than we ever did before, and it translated into really good performance. Much better, in my opinion, than our performance when we were public. We're doing better. Now, we have a tailwind that's helped a lot. There's no question that it's been a great period of time to be in the apartment business, certainly the last 8 or 9 years. But even when times get rougher, I believe the current structure is best to allow us to produce the most value. Asking me what I hope for the future is very simple. I hope it can continue to do what we've already done in the past. I'm proud of what we've accomplished. We've gone from nothing. It was a little more than nothing. It was 13 people when I joined in 1985, but close to nothing. And we're now not nothing. We're now a legitimate good-sized company, and we have a good culture, and everybody who's there, I believe almost everybody that's there, loves being there and likes what they do. And the ability to let that continue when we are long gone would be a great goal.
I think assisting people in career advancement and whether it's inside AMLI or outside AMLI, through training, through mentoring, through the information flows that we have, I think has been one of the differentiators for us that we've done it particularly well at. I think that diversity focus ought to be something of importance. I think sustainability ought to be something of importance and expanded in both areas. So I agree with you. I think continuing with what we have done well and expanding on that is the best advice.
I hope that those that come after us have that same thrill of being able to create something far greater than what we've been able to do. I hope that in 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years, AMLI's still in business and is just multiple times bigger and better and more successful and better positioned to take advantage of the marketplace than we've been able to do in our 37-year career. So that's kind of what I would say about looking to the future.